And we're back. Live here in the Red Desert. I was just reading this person, not even, just reading this opinion piece, because that's definitely what it was. Somebody was comparing Ghost of Tsushima and Days Gone. Essentially saying that the Sony needed to get rid of, or abandon, like, Ghost of Tsushima. Hold that thought really quickly. Well. Wait, can I do that while I have it? Broadcast settings. Advanced settings. Nope. Okay. So, let me just fix that right here. Tsushima. I was just reading this opinion piece someone had wrote about yeah, they said, forget Days Gone, Ghost of Tsushima is Sony's worst game. Like really. It was just something that I'd noticed today in my my Google feed, and I wasn't yet fan, obviously, because I just finished Days Gone. But I just, like, wow. First of all, wow. I'm like, wow. Saying that if Sony is going to ditch any game, it should be Ghost of Tsushima, which they accuse of being bloated and repetitive. I don't know if I would call it bloated and repetitive. Now, don't get me wrong, this game has frustrated me quite a bit in terms of combat. Ghost of Tsushima can feel extremely clunky at times. Game mechanic-wise, truth be told. But nowhere near comparably to Days Gone, where that game was very rage-inducing. But after I just read their article, they essentially just called it a copy and paste of Assassin's Creed, which is just utter trash. That's just completely inaccurate. Kaze.
That's my cousin.
Yeah. I mean, in truth, I think I'm hopping back on this right now because I'm gonna have to give this back to my my friend later. So I kind of want to play through this a little bit more. But you know, I'm actually kind of glad I read this article because in their constant comparing and contrasting of the two games, and I mean, it's their opinion. It's an opinion piece.
Stand and fight me.
I mean, first of all, there's this right here. Like, the standoffs are just fucking dope. They said Ghost of Tsushima lacked originality. I don't know. That looks pretty original to me right there. Are there flaws? Certainly. You know, but I can definitely say with certainty that is there a perfect game really out there? Can you think of, like, is there one game anyone can think of that does not have, that has not one single flaw in it? So it's, when I play a game, I never look for perfection. I look for, what I look for in a game is how much does it really engage the player to just stay on it. You know, to continuously play it. God, I love the graphics in this. Yeah, yeah. Bloated and bloated and repetitive. I mean, I don't even know what they mean by bloated in the sense. I found that so interesting.
They will pay for what they did.
See, personally, I would be wearing the red instead of the white, but it didn't really go with the ending that I preferred.
Who will fight?
One, two, now three. It's done. Although the one thing I don't know about this yet, same with Days Gone, but I can play that at any time, so I'm not too concerned about rushing that. They actually said Ghost of Tsushima was mediocre. It said this was a mediocre game. Ugh, bear. Then again, it ain't like a bear. It ain't like the bears on Days Gone, so I can at least appreciate that much. Yeah, bears in Ghost of Tsushima aren't shit. But I found this part interestingly I found like what they said about both the games, but they said conversely that Days Gone does slightly better in this, which is that with their most serious problem is overfamiliarity and uninteresting characters. They said, in my opinion, though, Days Gone does slightly better in that it at least has an original gimmick in the zombie hordes, and it's not a straight copy of another game like Ghost of Tsushima is. And they said, as everyone realized very early on in Ghost of Tsushima, is basically Assassin's Creed in all but name. That is completely false. Especially considering, like, playing Days Gone and like, how many times did I say while I was playing Days Gone that it felt like Sons of Anarchy meets The Last of Us. Like, that's essentially what it was. Sons of Anarchy, Sons of Anarchy meets Alex Jones enters The Last of Us. Oh man, because you know, got like Mark Copeland and his InfoWars mentality. Like occasionally, you actually have a point about some shit. Very, very, like once in a blue moon. Not every blue moon, but once in a blue moon. Now to be completely fair, I haven't played any of the later Assassin's Creed, nothing after Syndicate. I don't know, I just really wasn't, I think after the third Assassin's Creed, I was pretty much just like, I'm not really worried about it anymore. It kind of had that same, it's like the same effect with Black Ops. Ow. Oh no. Can you escape the ghost? Run! Run, little rabbit, run! And you know, something that I made sure not to do, because if there's one thing I can definitely say, it's like I really enjoy, especially after playing Sekiro. And I know technically that's a ninja game, but it has a lot of samurai. It gives me a lot of samurai vibes from it. And I think that was something that I really appreciated about Ghost of Tsushima, is that I've never really actually played a samurai game through and through, because that's really what this is. It's done.
You'll be free soon.
I'll always remember you.
Be careful up there.
Please, a token of my gratitude.
But actually, going into what they were saying about it being them basically saying that it's basically Assassin's Creed in all but name. They even went on to say it was not the newer ones, but the older types. And it's like, no.
Jose, come on.
Not really. I mean, there's not even currency. You don't even use any form. It's all materials in this game, which I kind of find interesting. Like, you don't get charged shit in this game. You don't need to worry about making money at all. It's just finding materials. Oh, what's up?
May the slain find peace.
Oh no. Can't have that. I'd say the one thing I'm disappointed about in Ghost of Tsushima is just how short it just felt short. They said it felt bloated and all this. No, I ran through this shit so quickly. I love the story, or I love the side quests. Personally, I found the game, the story itself, because it watched like just like a movie. The combat is challenging, though. I will say that it is. I mean, it's quite tricky. I still, to this point right now, still find it tricky. Trying to hit a perfect, get a perfect parry every time, like in combat. That's very difficult to pull off. Oh damn! Damn! I thought I still had stuff left, but no, I forgot I ran through it all. How about that? Ah, but that's what I wanted to do. Right. Now I remember. How many do I have? 8. Right. Guide me. They even contradicted themselves in their own opinion piece, because they actually came at the guiding wind. They said the guiding wind got really old after a while. I love this. Follow the wind. Oh! Forgive me, Kaze. Forgive me. You see, I'm ungraceful. You know, something for me to say about Days Gone. Nice. In the beginning, when I first started playing Days Gone, I'd probably say about... Once I had been introduced to Tucker and Copeland, I kind of started getting bored with the game. You know, they didn't really do a great job of, teaching the player about a lot of mechanics. I mean, the loading screens were kind of fast. There we go. I'm so used to having a destination to run towards instead of just following the wind. Courtesy of playing Days Gone. I think what I like about this comparably, comparing it against Days Gone with the plots, would actually be the fact that they make sure you hear everything that is said, which is something I do appreciate about a game, where it's like the story is the most important part to me. You know, the lessons that story teaches you, you know, the philosophical avenues it takes you down. You know, I mean, I love a good plot twist, don't get me wrong. Where are you? This way. Oh, I see it.
Would you like to see what I have?
Not yet. Now I do.
All my goods are useful.
Armor dies. Oh, but you're not who I want to talk to. Oh, I'm actually glad, because, yeah. Ugh. Yeah. One thing that I can appreciate about this, comparing to before I even get into the plot and all that stuff, would be the controls. I mean, again, like I said earlier with this, at times Gene will kind of irritate me because he will swing at mid-air or nothing. Like, what are you swinging at, Gene? Seriously. Where was he at? Oh, he's up here. There you are. I'm just like multitasking, trying to remember. Yeah, no. I'm gonna need that.
I need more to achieve the perfect shade.
And I mean, sure, you could look at, you know, the materials as a form of currency. But is it really a form of currency? Can you really say, like, if you go to the store, if you can even call it that, like, given like, just the logic on that. But you go see a professional for something, right? And they say, bring me the materials to get it done, and I'll do it for you. And it's like, what is that professional getting out of it? You know, they're not even, like, the only thing it's like they're just doing their craft. They're not getting paid to do it. There was no money given. So it was something that was actually kind of nice. See, in Days Gone, it's like you had credits, but honestly, like, it really became, like, not even... It, like, essentially became inconsequential. Because it really wasn't even shit to get credits in that game. It was more about ranking up in the camps, which was kind of tedious. So when he said the games feel bloated, oh, I'm getting warm. I gotta turn the air on. He said the games feel bloated. They said the games feel bloated. Right there. It's I'm just making it hard to think. Quiet the storm of your mind. They said, like, this was essentially a copy and paste. It lacked originality. First of all, you're literally changing the weather. I'm, like, not even sure what that's about, but it's so freaking cool. And then the sky parted. Like, you know what, since Assassin's Creed seems to be the game that this gets compared to, because that's not what went through my head. I saw some similarities with Assassin's Creed, but I mean, by their logic, like, you could even say that Far Cry, like, took some P's and Q's out of Assassin's Creed with the detection system and the outposts, because they made references to both of those. Saying the Mongol camps, what did they say? The Mongol camps were... I said everything else, though, is the most boring cookie cutter effort you could ever imagine. It's almost like they made the map, then programmed a few variables into a computer to design the rest of the game for them. Put a fox shrine here, a haiku spot here, a Mongol camp here, rinse and repeat a dozen times, and all you have to do is add a few unique missions and you made a video game. Just like that right there, that sounded like a cookie cutter response. It's like, clearly they did not enjoy Ghost of Tsushima. No, at least nowhere near as much as I did. I think one of the characteristics of this game that I love the most is just the visual. Just staring off into the distance like this. But I wanted to find... Yeah, it was right here. It's the Mongol camps, they said. They said, I hate... It's the Mongol camps I hate the most, as they're straight out of Assassin's Creed and rely on the same sort of basic stealth tactics. Basically, crouch and stay in the grass, and that's it. I went on to say other stuff about that, but I'm not even concerned about that, because, I mean, it was that first sentence right there that just, like, I took issue with. It was like, that's essentially the same thing you could say about so many other games that utilize the same concept. And, I mean, and that depends on one's playstyle, because, I mean, you have options. You have playstyles in this. You don't have to go stealth in this. You could be honorable. You could be the honorable samurai for the most part of the game, save for a few parts. I mean, even at the end of the game, they give you an option on whether or not to, you know, remain true to the samurai code or, you know, have no honor and refuse. You know, by, you know, that decision at the end of the game, and we'll leave it at that on that one. Well, I think I said it earlier, but yeah, I find it so interesting on their concept of that. Assassin's Creed, while it was, albeit, you know, somewhat open world, I mean, it was open world exploration sort of. But it was very, very limited in terms of combat. There was a lot of antiquated concepts in Assassin's Creed you just don't see in this.
Who will face me first?
Actually, I want to look something up really quickly, though. Hmm. See, I still don't agree that I would call Ghost of Tsushima Assassin's Creed, but in feudal Japan, because that's not entirely accurate. But anyway. Hmm. A game that captures the spirit of what it meant to be a samurai, and that is absolutely accurate because it really does seem to do that. I'm just curious on how accurate Ghost of Tsushima was, based on history. The atmosphere, huh? I'm just reading someone's blog, honestly. This is one other reason why I actually enjoy games like this. Like, it'll make me ask questions, like games that are based on true stories or on legends, myth, and all that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love a zombie game as much as the next person does. Like, zombies are the shit. You know, don't get me wrong on that. Like, because let's be real, no zombie game out there. Last of Us is kind of getting up there, but I was gonna say no zombie game out there is really, like, at this point, really messing with, really even like touching Resident Evil, like probably the top tier zombie game, in my opinion, of course. It's just something I do have to say, because like I'm contemplating like between the two games, which one do I want to stream next, but I'm just not quite done with Ghost of Tsushima yet. And after reading this article, it was like I just kind of just felt frustrated a little bit. Like the Fox Shrines, they were useful up until like I didn't need to find any more of them, so I don't really know like Charm of Inari's Might. Ah. That's what happens when you don't read. Although I've been pretty tired lately, so. Interesting. Inari's Might. I think I'm actually gonna have to go and find out what that is. Not bad. See, playing this as someone who's played the first, someone who enjoyed the first 4 Assassin's Creeds. Whoops. It'll take me a second to reincorporate the combat system to this. There we go. Ugh. There we go. Kind of forgot how to play for a second. You know, I really enjoyed the first 4 Assassin's Creeds. The first 4 main games. Like Revelations was probably would be my top Assassin's Creed from the old days. Before 3, yeah, Revelations was like the top for me. Like, in truth, I did not like 3 at all. I hated the combat. It was kind of irritating. It was very clunky. Open world exploration was a bit irritating as well. There just was a lot that I just couldn't really get into. I mean, building settlements, like honestly, like the game just was not the greatest on informing on how to do that. And it just didn't flow that well together. Oh, there we go. Burn them. Ow. Gone somewhere? Basically crouch and stay in the grass, and that's it. Like, yeah, just that statement right there. It was like, you hate the Mongol camps, as they're straight out of Assassin's Creed. Straight out of Assassin's Creed. Like, was there an Assassin's Creed that even actually had Mongol camp, or had like some variation of Mongol camps in there? I've never even, I don't think I've actually played a game that have had anything to do with the Mongol invasion. Or any, yeah, or any game at all that had anything to do with the Mongol invasion. Like, my mind is going back to Revelations. I'm just trying, Cappadocia. I'm just like trying to remember who was the people there. It was Revelations. Ah, that's what it was. It's been a while since I played that. Mosia, right, I remember now. Okay. So essentially, because of the... Okay, now I get why this person is saying that. I wanted to understand exactly like why they had such a problem about with the Mongols in this game, or Mongolian, you know, because I mean when you really think about it with Assassin's Creed, it's like I mean it's not complete. It's not untrue to say that video games have a habit of bending the truth a little bit for for creative and artistic purposes and such. You know, to explain a certain like a fictional character's presence or a fictional organization's presence, like the Assassins, for example. It's not unheard of, nor is it really frowned upon entirely. I mean, as with Assassin's Creed, you know. But I mean, the way they're giving, it's like they're essentially like it's like their bias is essentially punishing Ghost of Tsushima because it's so similar to Assassin's Creed in various ways, but it's not the only game it's similar to. You know. Actually, when I played through this, what really went through my mind was Sekiro. Oops, I hit the horse. Nope. You know, a game that I actually found myself critiquing. I didn't do a stream of it. I actually own it, but I honestly, playing through it, I just did, like, after I bought it, I just played through it just to play through it because I paid for it, and I just wanted to at least get my money's worth on it. Was The Evil Within, because honestly, it was like, it just felt like such a ripoff from Resident Evil. I mean, there was originality in there, but it just, some originality in there, but it played so much like Resident Evil. Frustratingly so. I mean, enemy-wise, I mean, all, like, enemy types. I mean, don't get me wrong, there were terrifying parts in the game, but it just was very, it did feel like a copy-paste game in that sense. Actually, you know what I could do right now? Whoops, I'm still used to playing Days Gone, so like I got those controls like right now locked in my head. Where is it? Oh, I should have thrown that on. Let me see if I can find one. Where's the legend at? There it is. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for. look, me still trying to do that. You know, one thing I actually realized about this game and Days Gone that they actually do have in common that just absolutely irritates the hell out of me. And I noticed, and it's not just limited to these two games, it's actually a lot of games that are Sony games, is just the utilization of the touchpad. Because of the way the analogs are designed, it's so easy for my left thumb specifically. My right thumb's always hitting like the 4 buttons, but my left thumb is essentially always on the analog. You know, occasionally I'm using the D-pad, but usually it's on the analog. Oops, what is that? Tacos. Damn, didn't know I could go there. But what I can at least appreciate about this game is that it's just, you know, simply for like animations like that, small things like that. The game even restricts you from doing that, or from being locked into it. So the only one that you really have to do is the up one, which doesn't really interfere with gameplay too much. The only thing that you have to be worried about is doing this, like during a fight, which I've done a few times. But it's nowhere near as fucking irritating as when you're playing, as when you're playing Days Gone, for example, and you're running from a horde of zombies, only to accidentally swipe up on the touchpad, and then it's like, oh, we go to an entirely different screen, thanks for that, and then you stop sprinting, and you know, the sprint stamina, I'm like, I'm just getting irritated thinking about it. So it's interesting that these two third-person adventure games, because you could say they're, you know, they're both, for the most part, one form of an adventure or another. That one's more of a horror, this one's more of a...
Are you cowards?
More of an action... Come on. I need some bacon. No? No? No more bacon? Okay. Well, anyway, so I'm looking for something. I think it's this, right? Actually, I think it is that one. I think the bigger question that I always ask myself when I'm playing a game is like, what is the message of the game? Like, where does it take you? What questions does it provoke you to ask? Or the player, what questions does it provoke the player to ask? You know, in terms of combats, but in terms of the plots, you know, how you conduct yourself as you play. You know, the way you think about stuff, life itself from a philosophical point of view. There's a way to get up here. Oh, I think that's exactly what it is I'm looking for too. I might be wrong, but we'll find out. Kaze. What, did you just like teleport? That's handy, though. You know, how many games also out there utilize this feature where you can call your horse? You know, personally, it's not like I have an issue with a game utilizing a mechanic that already exists. Oops, 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 oops. Because another game that comes to mind that where you can whistle and your horse comes to you would be Red Dead. Yeah. Yeah, Red Dead. I don't even think in Assassin's Creed you had that until like it wasn't a regular mechanic. It wasn't until like later on that was added in there. But it didn't last long. It was like for one game. I think that was Brotherhood, if I'm not mistaken.
Does it come?
Let's go. Wind guide you. Oh, bamboo shoots. Oh, and see, look, I was wrong. Damn, I didn't even think I got it that time. Alright, this one's gonna get a little tricky. Whoops, yeah. Alright, here we go again. Oops. Yeah, I screwed up. L1's gonna be throwing me off a bit. Too slow. Almost. Just had one more. Yeah, this one's tricky. Oh! I can't believe I got it. Wow. Not here. Not this one. Yep, I don't want to go where it's cold. Nope, nope, no thank you. No thank you. That could be one. Let me see this. I'm trying to stay on topic here, but I kind of keep getting pulled off. Going back to what they said about the Mongol camps, it was like, what they said was, I'm going to read the whole paragraph. It's the Mongol camps I hate the most, as they're straight out of Assassin's Creed and rely on exactly the same sort of super basic stealth tactics. Basically crouch and stay in the grass and that's it. I have no idea where the fascination with the Mongol invasion comes from, as it all feels very artificial in the way it's presented, as if they went looking for an excuse to have Ubisoft style encampments to liberate, rather than coming up with gameplay ideas first and then working a story around them. Pretty sure that's what they did though. You know, a gameplay idea first and then working the story around it, which is exactly what they did. There was a reason that the people rallied with him You know, not even in the sense that, oops. And, like, not even in the sense, like, it became all about them. Like, you know, like, truthfully, like, I actually respect the kind of person Gene is. Like, he really is just one that just, like, sacrificed everything. He experienced a lot of loss, but he just sacrificed a lot for his people. Something I can truly appreciate. And then even in the end of all of that, like he was still stripped of like his title, his clan was dissolved, just like he still just like lost everything. Whoops, hold on a second. Okay, I did mark it that way. Ooh. Forward. Oh, okay. Oh. Nope. Okay, that's a fox den. That's not what I was looking for. I mean, you had the, I mean, the encampments, honestly, was, I mean, it's like when you're fighting war, like, what do you... Not to mention, it is an invasion, so it's like, well, that's kind of like the point. You have all these outposts and stuff. I mean, it's really no different in the sense of Far Cry, where it's like you had all the outposts. You know, in Far Cry still, and interestingly enough, that's another Ubisoft game. I'm trying to think of a game that also uses the same, essentially the same tactic, where it's where there are outposts you have to take over. Oops. Where is it? Oh. It's kind of far. I mean, that's Ubisoft, but it's also Bethesda with Far Cry. Maybe I'm saying that just because Far Cry often reminds me a lot of Skyrim in so many ways. Yeah, no, that's an Ubisoft game. So yeah, my mistake. No, not Bethesda. It was Ubisoft. They made, I mean, I knew it was Ubisoft, but I thought it was like a collab with Bethesda. But yeah, no, I was way wrong on that. It just always reminded me of Skyrim. First person, all that. Bethesda, Arcane Studios, and what about Prey then? You got a problem? Now then, before I was so rudely interrupted. Yeah, okay. Publisher was Bethesda. Developer was Arcane Studios for Prey. See, and that's so interesting. Ubisoft and Bethesda, like they made games that were so similar. That I found so similar. Like the Far Cry series, Far Cry, Prey, and Skyrim, like are so and Fallout. Excuse me. I mean, not let's. I was like, I knew I was forgetting a game in there. Fallout. They're all so similar.
Who will fight?
You know, and I love that about them.
It's a bad time you want.
Can I just say, like, I really do appreciate the fact that since that person was critiquing originality on there, has there been a samurai game out there that like utilizes the standoff? Now don't get me wrong, combat isn't...
More like you. Well, exactly. Go. Stay safe. I know.
What are people giving him? Oh, supplies, okay. I got sidetracked. Come, Kaze. In terms of combat, though, it's not, Ghost of Tsushima is not as good as Sekiro. You know, that much I can definitely say for certain. I do appreciate the combat, or I do like the combat more in Sekiro than I do in this. Obviously, that's a FromSoft game. Wow. Wow. Just wow. I think this like became like my favorite forest. Hold up. Look at this. It is lush.
I'm right here.
We are Ronin. Nope. Wind guide you. You can't even say like this game even is Assassin's Creed in any like you can't really not like the because I mean the way that sounds like the climbing like it's just not some carbon copy of Assassin's Creed. Ah, damn you. Bad bear. Like I said, bears are not shit in this. Oh, please. Please be what I think it is. they ever have a... What is that? What? Bishamon! Done! I thought I found the best one so far. Or was it? Which one was I using? Was it Yashazem? No, it wasn't. It was, Again, nope, it was... Because, wow, look at that. That's gorgeous. Breath of Hachiman. Which is also gorgeous. Like, I love the handle, like, oh, but Bishamon's Bishamon's fortune? What? Look at that. Oh, yes, that just became, like, my main one. Now, one thing that you can say about both games, Days Gone and Ghost of Tsushima, is that when it comes to rescuing people, it's like you can see that there's not a whole lot of variety in terms of the individuals. And you know, and I'd say Days Gone actually does worse at this because of the fact that it takes place in the US. You know, something I also just now realized is that there was not one single woman at all. There was not a single woman at all that you rescued in the Radiant survivors that you just would randomly come across. You know, they were always male, typically white, and for the most part, there was usually just like one design for them. Entirely. I mean, we've at least seen more than a few designs in this. I think they usually keep like one person to do like one to a few people. Oh, there we go. Perfect. I was actually looking for a haiku. This is what I've been looking for a while now. How about that? Oh. Shadow of justice. Righteous punishment. Ugh. But I want my red one. Like, and there's only one way to get the red one, man, and you have to make the other choice that like I don't want to make. But it looks so much better. Don't get me wrong. I say go with the black. And the red. Because, you know, why choose? Speaking of, It's already 2 o'clock. I'm getting hungry. I'm having a hard time trying to think. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think this was one of my most favorite aspects. Again, about originality. Saying like this game lacked saying the game itself lacked originality. And you know, it's like it's easy to get on Google or to go on a website and write a blog about it, and you know, but it's another thing to actually play a game. For me at least, I would say it's another thing to actually get into, to actually be on the game and talking about it, what you like, what you don't like about it, and respecting the fact that people are not going to agree with that. I get that. So yeah, going back to the point on rather than coming up with gameplay ideas first and then working a story around them. Like I'd say they did that quite well, considering like, you know, like they had the opening quite accurate. You know, the samurai of Tsushima was decimated by the Mongols. Some of this stuff, obviously, like I think it was later on, or I think some of the stuff didn't. Some of the concepts that are introduced in the game don't actually happen for another few centuries, because I think I think it's the 13th century right now in game, and when the Mongols had actually invaded in Tsushima, and yet you don't actually see. Like, first of all, Tsushima was like conquered, or yeah, taken over by the Mongolians. So like, despite how the game does end, like that is something that it was like, because I mean, it's like they say at the end of the game, it's like the Mongols are still there. Sukekune. Obviously, like with God of War, the protagonist is a work of fiction. And someone else said Ghost of Tsushima is just another Red Dead Redemption, and that's okay. I don't know if I'd say that part either. Yeah, no, it's definitely not another Red Dead Redemption because you're not robbing people. You're not just give me all your give me all your money. Oh, because I mean, let's be real. Red Dead Redemption, you're actually a bandit. I mean, you're a cowboy, but I mean, let's be real. Cowboys are still sort of a bandit. Actually, I'll be right back. Take a little. I'll be back in a couple minutes. And we're back. One of my complaints about this particularly is that it storms so damn much, and that lightning is really loud. It's super loud, especially like for someone wearing headphones. But anyway, I digress. Just, you know, going back to what I just read on that article over there, it was a header saying that Ghost of Tsushima is essentially from Screen. It was on Screen Rant. Ghost of Tsushima is just another Red Dead Redemption, and that's okay. Wasn't even actually part of the article that I was reading. It was actually just a comparison of just like the accuracy of Ghost of Tsushima. Well, what that made me think of, since I did actually bring up Red Dead Redemption earlier with the horse mechanic and such, something I find. I'm actually about to adjust my volumes on here. I think it's just the sound effects. Actually, I'll just do it on my headset instead. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's better. It's just kind of hard to hear myself talk with these headphones on. With all these games, you know, there's flaws in them, or it's like I said, no game is perfect. Just like the people that are creating them are not perfect, so it's like, and that's okay. What I'm getting at, though, is I'm reminded of going back to the person who wrote the article calling Ghost of Tsushima mediocre. And saying Days Gone. So let me see a bit about Days Gone. Said maybe a bit underdeveloped and unambitious, but Ghost of Tsushima is worse on both counts. No. I found this game to be quite compelling, in fact, in so many aspects. I mean, especially like with the haikus. I mean, in the concept of meditating, as someone who actually meditates. But going back to the point of originality, because I would definitely not call this game underdeveloped or underrated. Does it have some flaws? Certainly. Again, you know, combat can be a little clunky at times, but I'd say that would probably be my only complaint. Would be the combat at times. Just feels a little clunky. Yeah. Off the top of my head, at least right now that I'm thinking. Yeah. So one thing that I find refreshing about this game is its originality. You know, essentially, like, in direct contrast to what this person had wrote about this. With the haikus. I mean, you don't even really, like, the fox dens aren't even, like, necessary. You got the haikus, you got the bamboo strikes. I didn't really do too much in, like, the shrines. Didn't really focus on those. It was simply because of the rewards. I'm just like, the charms I really wasn't all that concerned about. Wait a second, let me look at that one. Maybe that was my mistake on that one. Where was that at? Because something that I just find, what I find directly in contrast with this person's arguments, or opinion, as they have declared it, is that, like, by saying that Ghost of Tsushima is Assassin's Creed, or by saying Ghost of Tsushima is Assassin's Creed, you could essentially say that Days Gone is The Last of Us. You know, a carbon copy of The Last of Us. You know, with like some info. And you know what? Actually, there was another article that had condemned Days Gone. Oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, I ain't worried about that. Just saw something about the creator of Days Gone saying, "Don't complain if there's no sequel. If you didn't buy the game, if you didn't buy the game at full price, like oh well then." There was an article I read about it though that I'm like, just trying to remember. This is funny. Here's just something that I saw because I'm looking for another article, but I happened to see this. It was an old article I read once, you know, for game writers, for game script writers for games and such, that I do take issue with, but I find the logic is astounding to me. And essentially, it says, Days Gone writer says, if you love a game, you should buy it at full price. Now here's the thing about that. If a game comes out, it's the first of its kind that comes out. How are we supposed to know, as the consumer, if we're gonna love the game or not? Like you don't know you don't know if you're gonna love the game until after you've already paid for it. It's essentially like it's essentially an investment. You know, when you buy a game, you know, especially if you're like myself and you don't like spoilers, you don't like people to give shit away. Like, don't tell me anything. I don't want to know. You know, I don't like looking stuff up for a game until after I've at least beat it. Excuse me. I mean, aside from like a game like Skyrim, where it's like it's so big, so vast, and especially if there's like a lot of bugs, a lot of issues, where it's like, all right, you're gonna have to look some stuff up here and there. I get that, but personally, I don't like looking things up for a game until after I've beat it. So I'm just looking for, see if I can find this article though. God, it was like such a while ago that I read that article. Mm. Could have been pulled down. I don't like to... I don't like to quote stuff if I can't remember it accurately, because I like to be as accurate as possible. Otherwise, I feel like I might misspeak on something. You know, I don't want to be like Colonel Garrett's. Colonel Garrett Zealots. Oh, it might have been this. Hmm. Ah, it might have been this one right here. Some of these reviews that I see for games. Like, people really get to bash in, like, decent games. It's so funny because I'm critiquing somebody else's review of, well, their comparison between the two games, Days Gone and Ghost of Tsushima, and I just saw an article on here that said, canceling Days Gone 2 is the best thing Sony, well, should have said has done, have done all year. And obviously, these are all opinion pieces. So I mean, like, I get it. It's like that's people's personal opinion. That's how they feel about it. You know, just talking about. Oh man, that is so funny. They were talking about the way Deacon talks to himself. At times he'll whisper, at other times he'll yell. God, I really want to find that article though, so I'm just kind of like looking right now. Maybe I'll find it one of these days. And you know what? Maybe and now that I think about it, maybe it actually wasn't, maybe it wasn't Reddit that I actually read it. Or, no pun intended. Look at that. There was an article, somebody had like equated Days Gone or made like some sort of correlation between Days Gone and InfoWars. I just kind of found it to be interesting, so I was trying to locate the article again. It was kind of, I mean, maybe it was this one. Oh, it is this one. Okay. Excuse me. Sorry, it took a while. Wired. Okay, so it was the review was so bad it's funny. I wouldn't go that far. It does have some issues, but I wouldn't go that far. God, it took me a while to kind of like find that little piece. Now where is it? Okay. So yeah, it was basically what they said about it was Deke's biker vibe is also confounding. The press pack for Days Gone came packaged with a black and white skull and crossbones do-rag. It's actually a bandana, not a do-rag. So, you might want to get that right. Imprinted with the words flying high, laying low is a character who wears these kinds of items unironically and whose name suggests he might be a long-lost member of the Motley Crew. Really a suitable fit for a pro-face story about redemption in the face of adversity. The game wants you to spend 60 plus hours with the kind of guys who sound like they watch InfoWars. As typical of stories where protagonists have biceps instead of brains. See also Gears of War. Easy now. The dialogue in Days Gone is bad, really bad. We've been through shit worse than this before, says Bruiser. It's actually Boozer. See, this is what I mean with people who write reviews and when like people who review a game, because that's something I'm starting to really notice about these because this is actually a review, not a blog, or excuse me, not an opinion piece, because it says Days Gone review. So funny, it's bad. This was published 2 years ago, but I remember reading this and had read this or read a portion of it before I even had even like played this game at all. You know, this definitely wasn't on like my to buy list. You know, honestly, I didn't even know what the hell Days Gone was about. Truth be told. So, and I get what like kind of like what they were getting at with the whole with people who watch like 60 plus hours with guys who sound like they watch InfoWars. Like, honestly, the only one that would come to mind on that would be, like, Copeland. Who sounds like he probably deserves to have a job, like, right next to Alex Jones. But anyway. There was, there's something else, though. I mean, like, this right here was kind of, like, completely inaccurate. For example, it said the story between Deke and his missing wife is not touching. Like, I don't know. I actually disagree with... I found it to be quite compelling and touching. What I find actually entertaining about this article, though, is they kept calling Boozer Bruiser. It's actually Boozer. Yeah, alcohol, booze, Boozer. Yeah, clearly whoever wrote this one just had like such a had a real issue with the game. Like, don't get me wrong, I got frustrated, as you've seen in my streams, with both Ghost of Tsushima and Days Gone. Like, yeah, you know, whether it's because I was already frustrated about other stuff, and the game was merely an outlet, or because there were you know issues, or there were parts in the game that I just kind of found frustrating. Like the sawmill in the old sawmill incident, we'll call that. Took me forever, like an hour and a half. I'm just thinking about it, like, man, how many times did I die on that part? Holy shit. So I mean, like, I wouldn't say Days Gone. I definitely won't ever say Days Gone is a bad game. It's not. It's definitely not a bad game. It's decent. That's what I can say about it. It's a decent game, very enjoyable, easy to play. Once you actually get into it, there was another article where they had said it just was. It started out. It took them a little bit to play because in the beginning it's a bit underwhelming. Like after the opening, it's a bit underwhelming. Unlike Ghost of Tsushima, where it's like where you're essentially like when you essentially join in, or when you essentially start the gameplay, it starts out like an old samurai movie. They grab your attention and they keep your attention essentially. So going back to the other opinion piece, where that person had said Sony should abandon. Sony should, or saying Ghost of Tsushima is Sony's worst game. Can you really think about that one for a second? Speaking of which, Sony's worst game. I just need to look something up. Okay, never mind. It's not a Sony exclusive. I mean, to say that a game is Sony's, or to equate that. I'm just looking at my home screen. I have so many games I can barely even remember them all. Like, you know what, in truth, I couldn't even tell you what Sony's worst game is, because I probably wouldn't even have bought... I wouldn't even know the name of it, because I probably would have never played it. Ghost of Tsushima is Sony's worst game. Like, they're tripping hard. Actually, thinking about that, Ghost of Tsushima is Sony's worst game. They're tripping hard. Like, what? to say that Ghost of Tsushima is actually worse than Days Gone is actually completely inaccurate. I mean, again, it comes down to your preference and such, but in terms of being that I've played through both the games, and some of them have they have their issues. Some of them are the same. Some of them are different. But after beating them both, Days Gone definitely has way more bugs, just bugs and glitches than Ghost. I don't even think Ghost of Tsushima even had any bugs or glitches that I'm aware of. As I'm thinking about it right now, like I can't think of one bug or glitch I ran into with Ghost of Tsushima. Unlike Days Gone, where it had, yeah. I mean, going back to the old sawmill, that I just did today. Yeah, I just did that mission today. Save some for me, where it's like the game was essentially bugging out. I swear it was bugging out hard. Considering that the old sawmill horde, I could not figure out where the hell they were at during the daytime. And it turns out they were actually supposed to be inside the old sawmill itself. But every time I would like rest during the daytime, I'd go in the sawmill and nothing was in there. And I'm just like, where the fuck are they at? Like, hold on a second. Like, what is this? You know, I even remember resting until the evening, and then I went over to watch the sawmill and just to see like where they came from, and here they come here they come walking out of the sawmill. I'm like, where the hell did y'all at? Oh, it was so irritating, but still, like, it's funny in hindsight. I mean, I do like the story. Both games. I do like their story. Days Gone was a bit slow, though. Like I said, it wasn't until I made it to Lost Lake that things actually started to pick up and get interesting. Because honestly, like, at that point, like, I kind of hated the game simply because I despised Tucker. I really hated I think Tucker was probably like on my top 3 most hated characters in the game. Ada Tucker, could not stand her for shit. Copeland would have made that if it wasn't for Schizo and the Colonel. So Copeland would probably be like number 4. You know, he doesn't actively like hurt anybody, unlike Tucker, where she's like she does so indirectly. But like just essentially you're just a prison guard, you know, running a prison camp where everybody just like works for you type shit. You know, and if people don't work for you, or if people don't work, you get beat. And it's like, yeah, no, I'm not with that. I really am not. You know, so it's the people with guns that were essentially running shit. And people couldn't even leave if they didn't want to stay there anymore. They'd have to, like, run away. You know, otherwise they'd be forced to stay there. Huh, sounded a lot like that militia camp that we ended up blowing up later on. Back to the whole debate, though, with this person's concept, or this person's comparison between the two games. Saying that it's not a straight copy of another game like Ghost of Tsushima is. I mean, I don't know. I mean, because again, I would really say that it seemed a lot like a carbon copy of The Last of Us. And, you know, minus the fact that you're by yourself. So, but it's still very similar to The Last of Us. I wouldn't say it's similar to Resident Evil, simply because of the fact that Resident Evil never really had a open world exploration. It was a very controlled narrative where it was like when you would progress in the game, you had to be careful about that sort of thing progressing in Resident Evil, because it's like sometimes you would not be able to go back. Same with The Last of Us. They had that in common. But I would say Days Gone is more of an action game with some horror aspects, much like a later Resident Evil. or much like the later Resident Evil games. Obviously, not Biohazard and Village, but 4 and 5, just in terms of like the type of the genre, no, not plots. Simply the fact that Days Gone really wasn't that much of a horror game. I mean, the only time I ever felt myself really getting like terrified in the game was when you ran into a fucking horde. That was it. I mean, the bear and the Ragers. The Ragers were kind of like, all right, but aside from that, it was like, no, really wasn't much of a horror aspect to it. You know, it was just more of like a third-person shooter, you could call it, with some horror aspects to it. Something I realized though about like going, you know, I'm actually kind of glad I'm talking about this, reading like these, because I've noticed this about game reviews since I brought up The Last of Us so much, and like it astounds me like with the reviews some games will get from people, and then I'll play the same game and I'm just like, what was y'all, what were you tripping about? Like playing The Last of Us, both 1 and 2. Like I really don't understand what people like. What the controversy was like when The Last of Us 2. Like I don't understand why there was even controversy about The Last of Us 2. I'm like so tempted to do like a stream of both 1 and 2 on The Last of Us after this. I mean, The Last of Us did have quite a bit of open world. Why did I come over here? Oh yeah, I wanted to get that. The Last of Us did have a bit of what was I about to say? Oh, you can swim. Yeah, that was very irritating in Days Gone. Treading water. Fuck, that was irritating. Controversy surrounding. I'm just trying to remember what I was saying before I got distracted. Oh, I see it. I see it up there. And it's like, you know, how many games out there like use a lot of the same mechanics or concepts that other games have already been coined, already been created. I mean, you got I mean, so many games that use the same. I think The Last of Us might even use the same. It's been a while since I played that. No, it doesn't. No, I had to think about it for a second. Let's say the detection meter. I mean, because that's, you know, when most people generally think of Assassin's Creed with that. But I mean, you got Bethesda, which again, this is Ubisoft, which is again another Ubisoft game, which is fair. Okay, there we go. Honor of the Shrine. Actually, I want to look that up too. Oh, excuse me. I have someone at my door. I will be right back. ladies and gentlemen, we will return. I had an unexpected visitor, so this is the WolfSage signing off from now. Oh, wow! I just noticed like the name of this charm though, Tsukuyomi, the charm of the moon. By the infinite moonlight, shine upon us all. Dark moon guide you. Yes. Tsukuyomi. All right. Let me go ahead and just save this really quickly. So I was actually about to do a new game. I wanted to stream this before I have to give this back. Yeah, this one. You haven't seen this, have you?
No, I've seen it.
Okay. And